And I believe that you'll live and that I'll live. And that's why that people are the only thing worth fighting for.
Hello again, everybody. This is Heartbeats, the podcast, featuring insight and teaching from the more than 50 years of work done by Landon Saunders. On today's episode, we catch Landon once again in front of a workshop audience, and he's discussing, well, the topic is death. And as he is wont to do, Landon suggests a few different ways for us to think about death and dying. Once again, here's Landon Saunders.
What about this thing of death? I remember being called maybe 6 or 7 years ago to a hospital because there had been an accident with a young man that I had met, 19 years old. His truck had overturned and he had broken his neck. And he was paralyzed from the neck down, could not move any limbs. In fact, the only member of his body that he could move at all was his eyes. Had lost speech and everything. And they had not been able to put him to sleep. He was just lying there with eyes wide open. His parents had come, the doctors had come, and they'd given him shots, and there he was. And as I was driving over to the hospital, I wondered, now what would I like to hear? If I were Phil, what would I like to hear? And I didn't know if I had the answer. I went on over to the hospital, I went into the emergency room, and there he was, those eyes wide open. I said a few words to him, and then I said, Phil, are you afraid you're going to die? And suddenly the eyes came to life, and they said yes. That's what I would have wanted to know. Am I going to die? I said, the doctors may not will tell you. Your parents may not be able to tell you. But I want to tell you something. Twice a day, I'm going to come to the room, and I'm going to give you an honest report. I'm going to tell you exactly what they're saying. Is that okay? The eyes indicated yes. And almost before any more words got out of my mouth, he was asleep. Now, he's survived that. He's survived the whole accident, and he's doing tremendously well today. But you see, we just don't know what to do when it comes down to this thing of dying. And so I tell people what to say when I die. I'm just going to tell you tonight. If you're around when I die, if I go out here tonight and I get it right out there in the road, and you come out there and you hold me up and I look like I'm pretty, just about to go on out, I'll tell you what I want you to do. Or if I'm in a hospital room and you come to see me and they've said, hey, he's just got about another hour to live or another 5 minutes to live, and you're going to come in there and listen, don't come in like this. Just come on in. Just walk on in. And when you get in there, don't whisper around, because I'm told that people who are dying may be losing their sense of hearing. And I want to know what's going on. I want to know what you're saying. And when you get in there, don't say, is he gone yet? You think he can hear anything? And begin talking about me in the third person. Don't talk about a person who is unconscious or who is on a deathbed in the third person as if they're already gone, as if they're an object or a thing. And listen, don't come in there and steal the show by a lot of crying and everything. If I'm dying, it's my hour, and I don't want you coming in there stealing the show. I want all the attention focused right on me. And then I want you to come over, and I want you to get down right in my ear, and this is all you need to say. Just kind of take hold of my hand or my shoulder and say, hey, bud, I love you. Boy, listen, if there's anything that'll get through to this old dying heart, that'll get through. Tell me, we've made too big a smell out of death. Death ain't no big smell. Death ain't got no style. Now, life's got a lot of style, but the deaths that I've seen, they just don't have much style. And what I like about human life is that it can have style. And I would like to come up to my death, and I would like to die. I'd like to do it with some style. Wouldn't you like some style when you get ready to die? Well, if you have style when you get ready to die, you have to think about it before the hour comes. And if you think about it before the hour comes, then things are going to be a lot better. Now, let's go through quickly. What are the undeniable facts about death? Here they are. Number one, everything's going to die. Boy, nobody contests that. Everything's going to die. Number two, everybody is powerless in the face of death. I mean, nobody yet has beat it at its game, have they? Everybody just powerless before death. And number 3, that death makes some kind of contribution to life. We know that. That we live. I ate earlier today, and something gave its life in order that I could eat. And I imagine that these clothes I've got on, the clothes you've got on, I imagine something had to give its life in order for you to be able to be wearing those clothes. You see, we live on death, and so death makes some kind of a contribution to life. And we know that death raises an ultimate question. And the ultimate question is there anything after death? Now, can a human being entertain that thought? And you remember that baby I talked about in the womb last night? Well, I want to go back in there and have another little conversation with that. Because I go in and I say, now, babe, guess what? You're going to get out of this place, and you're going to go into another kind of life. And the baby says, no, I don't want to. I like life that's in here. I don't want to leave this nice little apartment. I've got everything that I need. Why can't I just stay in here? And I say, you don't understand. That you can't stay in there. That the person carrying you couldn't survive, and you couldn't survive any longer. Don't you know? And the baby says, well, but I want to stay here. And I say, listen, every baby that's ever been in a womb has had to get out. And you're not going to be an exception. You've got to get out. And the baby says, well, is there life after birth? And I say, well, let me tell you about this life after birth. Now, here's what's going to happen to you. And I describe, you're going to go down through that narrow passageway, and somebody's going to jerk you out, and they're going to disconnect you. You know? Now, let me tell you, baby says, wait a minute. If I'm disconnected, will I go on living? And I say, yeah, you're going to go on. Well, how? Well, I can't really explain that to you. But you're going to go on living. And it's going to have some dimensions that you can't even imagine that it's going to have while you're inside this womb. And the baby thinks, well, boy, I dread it. I dread that being born. You know, maybe afterwards it's going to be okay, but boy, that's like a little death. You know, all the gasping and your life support's getting off and all that slapping around and all of that. That's all. I say, yeah, that's a messy part of it. But you got to go through that in order to get to this other life that's over here. And the baby says, well, if I gotta. And so the baby is born, and its life support system is cut off. But it lives. Couldn't explain it. And I believe that you live and that I'll live. And that's why that people are the only thing worth fighting for. People are the only thing that will survive. People will survive. Our land won't survive. Our clothes won't survive. Our houses won't survive. Our fame won't survive. The human problem is this. How can we do the thing that we most want to do, which is live, when everything around us is dying? This whole earth is dying. According to the second law of thermodynamics, even the planet itself will die. How can you and I make a life out of dying materials? The only thing, the only principle of life that we have is look around. Human life. Personal life. And we believe, probably nearly 100% of this audience believes that human life is going to go on. That's why it's worth fighting for. That's why we need to get together. That's why we need to help each other. That's why we need to love each other. That's why we need to rejoice together. That's why we need to celebrate together. That's why we need to get into the work and to get on with the business of making human life better, of putting some love in others' lives and of emptying our buckets out and filling up other people's buckets and giving away, someone mentioned last night, giving away the fuzzies and strengthening and helping and fighting for and bleeding for and hurting for and suffering for and dying for people. Listen, human beings don't have anything else worth dying for. They don't have anything else worth getting up in the morning for. They don't have anything else worth giving their lives for except people. People's where it is. Define your life there, and everything else changes. Now, and if you'll just think of death as getting unhooked, you're going to get, like the baby gets disconnected from its life support system in the womb, you're going to get unhooked. You're going to get disconnected, and all you need is for somebody to reconnect you. Hook you up again. And that's it. Death, disconnection, continuing life, reconnection. And that's it. Now, one or two questions. If this is true, then the most important thing in our lives is the quality. The quality. The life that we're building right now will live on. Do you feel good about yourself? What if you die feeling bad about yourself? And you went on through whatever the ages, feeling bad about yourself. Why are we in this spinning planet? What are we doing every day? Listen, human beings are made for joy. Human beings are made for laughter. Human beings are made for celebration. Human beings are made for love. Human beings are made for courage. What we really need to do is to rethink the meaning of persons, rethink the meaning and value of your life, and rethink the value of your relationships with others, and begin to come to grips with a question like human dying, and to come to grips with a question like human suffering, and to begin to see the question as it arises all over our land and around the world tonight. That's where people are trying to live out their lives. And if we can gather our courage and summon that potential that is in us to think through and to breathe new life and to gather new hope, then we're going to make a tremendous difference in our world. This grandmother was going to die. And she'd kind of gotten some things together in her life, and she wasn't really afraid to die. And she was dying at home. The doctors came in and told the family, said, now, you better come out because your grandmother is going to die very soon. And so the family came in the bedroom, and all these big grandsons, and the one that was telling me the story was about 240 pounds, and he gathered all the way around the bed, and old Granny, she kind of pried her eyes open a little bit, and she looked around, and she motioned for her grandsons to pull her up in the bed, and so they propped some pillows and everything behind her. And he said it was as if she just reached down and summoned all of her strength and told a very funny joke and just convulsed them and broke them up in laughter. And as they were laughing, she slipped away. Now, I didn't tell you that to say that the only way to die successfully is to die telling a joke. But I do believe that there's something there that is the right spirit. And if you and those around you, if we can somehow, at a grassroots level, throughout this nation, if we can get hold of what a life is for, and if you will do your thing with the people around you, and you will do it with the people around you, and you won't let people get you down, and you won't let disappointment keep you from doing right by people. And if things fail in Washington, and if things fail in some of the educational centers, well, who knows? Just the folks of the nation. We carry within us the dream and the vision. I know you've been hurt a lot, but I hope tonight that you believe that your life is valuable and that you're worth it and that you're special, and that no matter how tough your situation is, you can live in the midst of it with gentleness and with courage and with victory, because you're a human being.
We hope you've enjoyed today's podcast and Landon's discussion on death and a little different way to look at the issue of dying. If you have enjoyed it, we encourage you to rate and follow the podcast wherever you get your material, primarily because it helps others as they're looking for similar kinds of information. This podcast is brought to you by Friends of Heartbeat, who invite you to visit thisisheartbeat.com on the web, where you'll find more information about Landon's work and other materials that are available. That's thisisheartbeat.com. And until next time, this is Heartbeat, the podcast.